weekend, I bring you your children, descendants of the formerly enslaved. They have waited over 400 years to return the spirits of their ancestors back home to Africa. When the children of Africa were taken out of Africa as slaves, all they ever wanted to do was to come back home to Africa. Each and every one of them that you see, many of them are coming to Africa for the first time. They're bringing with them the spirits of their ancestors to put them to rest here in Burkina Faso. So what are we going to do about the educational curriculum? Because that's where it begins. They don't want us knowing our history. They don't want us knowing where we came from. Because if you are a person without a history, who are you?
I am moved and very happy to see you here in Burkina Faso since the events of the SNC. It is more than a pleasure that you have chosen to come here to Burkina. You have surely been told that it is a country frequentable. We told you that it's death here, it's war.
C'est un pays infréquentable. On vous a dit que c'est la mort ici, c'est la guerre. Il n'y a que du négatif.
There is only negative. We painted Burkina black here, only blood flows, weapons. This is what is said elsewhere. Thank God you arrived safely. You were able to be about the lasso, live with us, our culture. What binds us Africans, you were able to communicate. Certain countries today where we want to send messages. But I think that your voices carry even more because you are ambassadors. Wherever you are, whether in America, in Europe, your Caribbean, you are ambassadors. And when you speak, it can wake you up, and I urge you.
Hello brothers and sisters, I really hope you're all doing fine from wherever you're watching me from. Now, it is never a dull day being an African. It is never a dull day being alive when we have revolutionists like Ibrahim Traoré who are trying to change the narrative in Africa. Now, Ibrahim Traoré has always been talking about bridging the gap between the diaspora and Africa. He has now been calling the children of Africa who are in the diaspora to come back and invest home, to come back and live home so that we can stage this revolution together as one. He has been calling the diaspora and the whole of Africa to unite and be one. So let's watch this video, then have a really quick discussion at the end of it. Thank you so much.
Of Thomas Sankara. President Traoré, who has led the struggle to complete the unfinished business that was started by our ancestors and our Pan-African leaders in 1963 when they created the Organization of African Unity. During that meeting, they demanded the creation of an Africa that spoke with one voice, an Africa that was united. That journey is yet to be finished. What is happening in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, is just the beginning of a revolution that is way past due for Africa. Africa must unite. And Burkina Faso has shown us the way. They have opened the doors. They have shown us that the bully can be defeated. That no more shall we continue to give up our lunch. That we too need to eat. And therefore, there is no negotiating with the bully. The bully had to go, and Burkina Faso showed us how to do it.
I am moved and very happy to see you here in Burkina Faso since the events of the SNC. It is more than a pleasure that you have chosen to come here to Burkina. You have surely been told that it is a country frequentable. We told you that it's death here, it's war.
On vous a dit que c'est la mort ici, c'est la guerre. Il n'y a que du négatif.
There is only negative. We painted Burkina black. Here only blood flows weapons. This is what is said elsewhere. Thank God you arrived safely. You were able to be about the lasso. Live with us our culture. What binds us Africans. You were able to communicate.
Être à propos du lasso, vivre avec nous notre culture, ce qui nous lie, nous Africains.
With many other nationalities who came to celebrate with us, everything went very well. You are of our standing, and I hope that you are very well received, very well lodged, and that you managed to communicate with your brothers here. It is one important message that you send to.
C'est un message important que vous envoyez à tout le monde.
Everyone, and nay, you will be the ambassadors of this message when you return home, that Burkina is very frequentable. We live in Burkina Faso. What they want to make you believe that is not the Burkina is what he draws to get people to flee Burkina, and they depict all of.
C'est ce qu'il dessine pour amener les gens à fuir le Burkina. Et c'est toute l'Afrique qu'il dépeint comme ça.
Africa like that for them. Africa is misery, Africa is famine, Africa is war, which is responsible for these wars. We need to unite. But they have always been there to divide us to be able to reign better. Slavery our ancestors experienced. Until today we are fed up in our.
Mais ils ont toujours été là pour nous diviser, pour pouvoir mieux régner. L'esclavage.
Flesh, but it continues. The grandfather was deported, torture, and still, when they had their war we supported him. They paid us in monkey money. Others were killed when they tried to claim. Several of them died in their village. With the after effects of the war, never recognized the work of the African, our mission. It is first of all to awaken Africa, and who better than you from the diaspora, to make people understand what Africa is. When I see you united in this association, I feel even more proud, because it is all we ask for. Today our fight is to be able to unite, because united we are strong. To divide we are weak. They have always worked to divide us. I urge you to spread the message, so that Africa can unite. We have been lucky or unlucky enough to live through war for several years, and at one point we had to say enough is enough. We are fed up.
Ils ont toujours travaillé à nous diviser. Je vous exhorte à passer le message pour que l'Afrique puisse s'unir.
We have taken our responsibilities, and we let us realize today more than ever that we were right to take our responsibilities. Because these armies were installed here, were never able at any time to monitor our territory, to see the terrorists who came to kill us, and
Et nous nous rendons compte aujourd'hui plus que jamais que nous avons eu raison de prendre nos responsabilités. Parce que ces armées étaient installées ici.
leave with all the means they had. When we asked to leave today, we were able to acquire a good number of means which allows us to wage our war, and to ward off the threat, and to indicate, I would say, we were able to.
Where do you come from? As Africans, we are too busy running away from who we are. We don't want to embrace our Africanness. Why not? If you refuse and don't accept your Africanness, then who are you? But when I went to Ghana, I stayed at a beautiful hotel. When I walked into the room, right above the headboard was a humongous photograph of Queen Elizabeth. And I thought to myself, now I am going to go to bed tonight with the shadow of Queen Elizabeth hanging over me. What kind of dreams was I going to have that night? I nicely found time. I called my VP and I said, could you help me take this photograph down? We shall put it back tomorrow morning. Because tonight I intend to have good dreams. Why is it that in 2024 we still have the photograph of Queen Elizabeth hanging over the walls of hotels in Ghana, and not a single photograph of a king or a chief from Ghana? We know when it comes to West Africa, the document that African countries were made to sign as they attained their quote-unquote independence, the document that's labeled the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. On one hand, we are giving you your independence, but on the other hand, we want you to sign this document, agreeing to continue to be colonized. And if you choose not to sign this document, in my pocket, I have a gun that has your name. Guinea and Mali, they chose not to sign the document. That France moved into those countries, poured concrete into the sewage pipes, destroyed schools, hospitals, roads, anything that could be destroyed, they destroyed. Anything that they could pick up and take back with them to France, they took. They even took the last pencil. This was done as a way of letting the other African countries know that should you refuse to sign this document, this was the fate that awaited you. You have to give up 85% at that time of your bank reserves, deposit them with France. Those funds, once gone, they're not coming back. All your minerals discovered and yet to be discovered belong to France, and French companies had the first right of refusal. Your language of instruction shall be French. Your military can only be equipped by France. Your military can only be trained by France. You must give up control of your finances. You must give up control of your natural resources. You must give up control of your military. Now, if you stay away from those, you are free to run your country as you wish. What kind of a country are you running? What kind of a leader are you? To this day, those African countries are still required to deposit their bank reserves with France. Now, the numbers have gone down some. They're down to the 50, 55, 60. But by and large, with the exception of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali that said, France, pack your bags and go home. The rest of the African countries are still subjected and held to the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. But our leaders, for various reasons, and we know those who have tried to pull away, they've either been assassinated or exiled. So the realities are there, that if African leaders try to push back, there's some serious consequences. In spite of all that, there are some other issues that they also could deal with. We know the NGOs are nothing but wolf in sheep's clothing as they come into our countries. A lot of embassies as well. We have a few nice embassies. But we have many countries that are also just here to make sure that they continue to destabilize the countries. They make sure that the elections are forever interrupted. Why is it that we are all fully aware that the loans that are being given to African countries, the loans that have been given to African countries for centuries, are frivolous loans that have been paid 1 million times over? Why is it that our ministers of finance every year, twice a year, they go to the World Bank? They know what's going on, but they say nothing. What is keeping us as Africans from coming together and speaking with one voice and letting the World Bank know and the IMF that we have paid for these loans a gazillion times over? We aren't paying for them no more. What are we afraid of? Why can't we just say it like it is? It is damn wrong. And it cannot continue. but we're afraid. You see, they defeated us where it matters the most. That even things that we have the ability to change, we are afraid of changing them. When the Europeans first came to Africa, they brought us religion. And then we went to church. And they taught us about a human being called Jesus Christ. And they talked about the angels, and they talked about who are in heaven, a place we all want to go to. They're beautiful, they're angelic, they're desirable. And oh, by the way, they're white. And oh, by the way, we are white, like the angels. But remember, in school, they told us this was white. But never mind how we look. We may look rather pinkish, but don't disregard that. We are white believers. Then they turned around and said there's something called hell. And there's a devil there. Ugly, undesirable, does all the horrible things, and that creature is black. And oh, by the way, you too are black. Never mind this black color that we told you in school. A blatant lie was told to us, and we have never stood up to say that's a damn lie. I'm not black. They're not white. You look like the devil because we told you so. We look like the angels because we told you so. So it is when a little 5-year-old black boy is given 2 sets of dolls, black dolls and white dolls, and he's asked which one is mean, he points at the black one. He's asked which one is ugly, he points at the black one. He's asked which one is nice, he points at the white one. Which one is beautiful, he points at the white one. And then when asked which one is more like you, he sheepishly points at the black one. The 5-year-old boy is defeated before his life even begins. Somehow, there are subliminal messages that this boy just knows it. Think about it. So that same little boy who grew up to be the Minister of Education, he's not going to like anything to do with him. So yes, European history is what weighs hard. African history? No. You, African educators, you don't read your own work in order to be tenured. Many professors, to be tenured, they gotta write 10, 20, 30, 40 papers. And those papers can only be reviewed in Europe, in the United States, by credible universities. So I said to the professors, you don't trust each other? You are not credible? If you can't trust each other, why should we parents trust you with our children? To be tenured in universities in Africa, your work has to be reviewed outside Africa. What's wrong with having universities in North Africa send their work to Southern Africa? Universities in West Africa send their work to East Africa. But no, black professors are going to be reviewing it. It's not acceptable. They won't have the same weight. Stupidity has got to come to an end. It is filtering through to everything that we are doing. I am telling you, my brothers and sisters, we are the laughingstock of the world. The current U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and I'm going to call her out, she was fired by President Trump when I was going to Washington. She used to come to my office, and she would say, Ambassador, Talk to the ambassadors. They need to speak up. When she was the former Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, she said, Ambassador, I'll be sitting on this side with the American side, and there'll be the Africans over there. She said, if they could just say some obvious things that would help her come back and make decisions and recommend certain changes. But the Africans don't speak. Tell these ambassadors to speak up. Why are we afraid? Because we were defeated where it matters the most. The mind. So no matter how hard we try to change our Africa, until we heal from the legacy of colonization, nothing we try to do is going to succeed. If we don't heal from the legacy of colonization, we will continue to be used as instruments of our own self-destruction. I challenged ECOWAS when they were trying to mobilize a military to go and fight Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Oh, we can have a coup. I said, help me understand something. France has had coups against these nations for centuries. When France is forcing these countries to deposit their bank reserves with France, that's a coup. President Tinubu, what have you done about this coup? You are sitting on the big boy chair now. Talk to me. What are you going to do about this coup? When France is making sure that all natural resources for these countries belong to France, that's a coup. What are you going to do about it, ECOWAS?
Hello, brothers and sisters. I hope you're all doing fine from wherever you're watching me from. Now, it is so good to see how the African continent is trying to bridge the gap between the blacks in Africa and those in the diaspora. It is so good to see the leaders, our leaders in Africa, more so those that are very vibrant, and the Pan-Africanists who are in Africa. They are talking about bringing the children of Africa back home. They are talking about uniting the black people. They are talking about making African continent a one country with one judicial system, with one military system, with one president, and with one government. And it is so good to be alive at this time, because these were the dreams of our grandparents. These were the dreams of the four founders of Africa. Those people who fought for the independence of African people. Those people who were at the forefront talking about the black liberation. Now, they could have wanted to see a unified Africa. And I remember back then in 1960, when Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana was really fighting hard to make Africa one. And he was accused of orchestrating anarchy in Africa. And for that reason, they removed him from power. They overthrew him from power. Now, when people like Muammar Gaddafi started talking about the unity of Africa, that's when Barack Obama and the Western system came after them. It is when people are talking about a unified Africa, when people are talking about a one government in Africa and bridging the gap between the diaspora and in Africa, is when we've seen the Western powers get so upset. And I'll ask you one question. If they were not getting anything out of the division of the black people, if they were not the beneficiary of the division that we have between the black race, then why are they so mad when people talk about the unity of Africa and the unity of black people? We've said, and we continue saying, that we are going to unite this continent, and we are going to do it in a very special way and in a very unique manner in which it will shock the Western countries. Now, I'm very glad Ibrahim Traoré, Julius Malema, Epilo Lumumba, you see the new Namibian president, the female president in Namibia is doing wonders. We've seen Senegal saying no to the French people. We've seen many other countries, Mali, Togo, trying to run away from this Western system that has orchestrated anarchy in Africa, that has made Africa to be so poor over time. We have all the mineral resources in Africa. We have everything in Africa. Tell me why we still see our people lack clean water. Tell me why we still see people living in absolute poverty. Tell me why we can't have roads in Africa. Tell me why we can't have good hospitals in Africa. While they get gold from Africa, they get diamonds from Africa, they get coal from Africa, they get everything from Africa. Now, even the minerals that are used to make things like steel are gotten from Africa. Then they go and process them. Then they bring back to us at a very higher price. They're the one that they have overseen corruption in Africa. As a matter of fact, they love it when African leaders are very corrupt. They support the corrupt people in Africa. This is a program. We were programmed to be poor. And our systems were programmed systematically to be poor. And when we want to change the narrative, they are not happy because they know we are going to have first world countries in Africa. We are going to have well-developed infrastructure in Africa. It is so happy to see a person like Ibrahim Traoré building schools, building hospitals, building manufacturing companies, and all these other things that the Western do not like about Africa is whatever the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré is now offering. We say we are Africa. Africa is still our business. And we want to see a very united front of African people. We do not want to see a divided Africa whereby some people are alleged to France and others alleged to they pay their allegiance to the United States, and they continue doing the same mistakes. We say this is the time we want to change the story. And the only way to change the story is by telling the people the truth, changing the education system in Africa. Now, we have a very, how do I even put it? We have a failed education system in the whole of these African countries. You go from the western side to the eastern side, failed education system. From the northern to the southern, we still use the French education system. We still use the Britain education system. We still use the Belgium education system. And it is time we wake up from the slumber. We've been sleeping for the longest time. We haven't seen how these distractors, this education system has been to our population. So there is need to change this. I'm very glad that Senegal is getting out of this, and they are going to ban French as their national language, and to start working on the education system. Ibrahim Traoré is also doing the same thing. He's now teaching the people the history of Africa. Now, it is so fun in Africa. We live in an African continent where we are taught white history. Myself, I was taught about white history, which has never helped me. Instead of telling me how we can change and unite this continent, they were busy telling me about the government of the US, telling me about farming in Netherlands, telling me about fishing in Japan, industrial revolution in Germany and in Europe. How will these things help me? How are they going to help my country? How are they going to change the narrative in Africa? How are they going to elevate people from poverty in Africa? This is why our education system in Africa is overly becoming useless with time. And it is time we should actually rise from this oppression. These systems were programmed to leave us poor. You waste a lot of time. Imagine you wasting around 16 years in school, learning about nothing, very nonsensical things that they are being taught in African institutions. You learning about Abraham Lincoln, you learning about some people who are not going to help you. This is whatever we say. We want a united front of Africa. We want to change the education system. We want to bring the children of Africa back home. And we want to see leaders being accountable to whatever they do to the African countries. The war that is being fought is an economical war. And we had Socrates, the great Socrates, said that there is no bad war such as an economical war. The war that is being fought to bring you down economically is the worst. It is better to be killed in the battle of war than someone to come and destroy your health system, destroy your education system, destroy your agriculture. And all these things are the things that are happening in Africa. How many times do we see Bill Gates, the Bill Gates Foundation going around Africa and trying to bring GMO foods, trying to negotiate with these corrupt governments in Africa so that they can bring GMO foods? This is why we are seeing the number of those people suffering from cancer in Africa is now on the rise, because so many people consume a lot of harmful substances that they do not even know. And the funny fact about it, they do that to Africa while they know the health systems in Africa are very down, because they do these things, and we fly from Africa to Europe to get treatment, and that's the business they want. They want the pharmacies not to collapse, their laboratory, their physicians to keep on inventing and doing stuff. You get, that's how they benefit from Africa. They come to Africa, cause chaos. They come to Africa, release harmful substances to African people. Then they go back. After you are not doing well or something, you will want to seek medication. And the only way is for them to sell you their medicines back to Africa, to sell you their vaccines and all this other stuff. It is time for Africa to stand on its own. We need a renaissance in Africa. I've always said this, and we need the support of the diaspora. We need people to come and help us get rid of the white anarchy that we have in Africa.